We need to abolish the CIA. Not necessarily saying that we need to not ever have any foreign intelligence services, but the CIA has shown us over and over and over and over again that they are not about intelligence gathering, that they are essentially a paramilitary mafia that orchestrates coups, assassinations, slavery, torture, terrorism. Like, they do all this crazy stuff in our name. That needs to be over. They manipulate our media. When the senators a few years back were trying to investigate John Brennan, he was hacking them and openly intimidating them. The people that are supposed to be overseeing them, they're just openly intimidating them. This is like a crazy gangster mafia, and this needs to be done. So we do need foreign intelligence, but with this foreign intelligence, unacceptable. Another reason why the CIA physically needs to go away and not just get reformed is because under every president, they've started 80 to 100 of these things called black projects. And what a black project is they go do that liaison activities thing, and they essentially create these programs that are funded by drug dealing and human trafficking and all this nefarious stuff that they do with their foreign partners. They are essentially squirreling away these little nightmare circus projects everywhere, all over the world, not just in the United States, but all around the world. So these black projects, they're something they're completely off book. They're self-funded, like I said, by drug dealing and human trafficking. They are designed to operate in perpetuity. Under every single president, they've went and created 80 to 100 of these things, even so much so that the incoming presidents don't even know where all these things are at. There's just like this gigantic spiderweb of self-driving things out there that they were created for a specific purpose. Since they're off the books, like, nobody can make them go away. This crazy situation. So we need the CIA to be like, okay, CIA is canceled. Anyone who thinks they're working on behalf of the CIA, you're not, and you will be hunted down, right? If you're drug dealing, if you're human trafficking, if you're doing this crazy stuff, you will be hunted down and killed, and that is you're fair game here. That's what canceling the CIA. That's what the message that was sent to them. So an example of a black project in specific would be like the Iran-Contra thing, right? Where in the 80s, they were taking guns and they were sending them over to Central America, and they were getting cocaine in return, and they were doing this drugs for guns thing, and then they were using it to arm rebels around the world. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where that money doesn't come from the government. The reason they do it through these black projects, the reason they get it from these drug dealing and human trafficking and these nefarious, like, organized crime sort of shakedowns, is that they want to keep that money off the books. If Congress was to allocate that money, like if their money for these crazy things was to come from Congress, then there would be a paper trail of where that came from and what they've been doing. That's why they go and they do this thing like when Iran-Contra, where they do the drug dealing and the gun running and the stuff, and it's this self-funded thing that is designed to operate in perpetuity. In that particular case, they kind of like got their spot blown up, so they had to shut that one down. But like I said, there's 80 to 100 of these things started under every single president, to the point of where even the incoming presidents and the incoming intelligence officials don't even know where all these things are at. And this is a good example of why Henry Kissinger, before he just died recently, he was like 100 years old. And it's like, dude, why does every president keep bringing this guy around? Like, what is this guy's deal? And the deal is, he knows where a bunch of the things were squirreled away, because he worked under 3 presidents. So he knows where 300 of these things are squirreled away around the world. And whenever they want to use that, they got to go call up Henry Kissinger, or they got to go call up these other washed up ex-spooks, these relics of a bygone era here. And that's just completely crazy. So CIA is responsible for millions of deaths around the world. They're completely out of control. They're destroying everything they touch. They are legitimately coordinating terror against us. After 9/11, we had that authorization for military force that's declared war on not a country, but a concept, right? So they said anywhere there's terrorists, that we can just send the military. There doesn't need to be any more congressional approval here. When they want to go to war somewhere, the CIA just goes and they do these black projects and they go arm a bunch of terrorists, and then they turn around and they're like, oh, look, there's terrorists over there. We got to send the military. Oh, whoops. They've used this to justify sending troops to like 30 or 40 countries since then, since 9/11. And it's just completely unacceptable. This has got to be done. We got to stop being the cops on the robbers. We got to stop arming a bunch of the terrorists that our government claims that they're trying to oppose. A lot of those groups, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Al-Nusra, Hamas, right, that is all kicked off by Western intelligence services. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the truth, and that must end. Kill the mockingbird. So the intelligence services, not just the CIA, but DHS and FBI at this point too, they spend a lot of time and energy manipulating the media. And in the past, it would be like manipulating the TV news media. But as the media goes more and more on the internet, they are spending a ton of time and energy and effort manipulating on a military scale, manipulating the social media, getting people censored, getting things demoted, doing a little like psyops on there. We need that to be over. And a great way for us to do that, a great way for us to make that over, is we got to close off all the vectors that enable our rogue intelligence nightmare circus over here to manipulate our public opinion. So thing number one that we got to do is we got to reinstate Smith-Mundt. So for those who don't know, there was a law for a long time that said the United States military and intelligence services, they're not allowed to conduct propaganda operations like targeting American citizens. Our own government is not allowed to use military propaganda and psyops against us. And under Obama in 2013, that was repealed. So they essentially said, okay, that's no longer a rule. The United States government can use military information ops and can send spooks to go do propaganda and psyops against United States citizens. Completely crazy. Chopping them off from doing that legally, huge thing that we got to do here. That must be over. When you start revoking security clearances for officials that leave office. The way it works right now is a lot of the military leaders and the intelligence leaders, when they leave office, they keep their security clearance. So they keep essentially their ability to look in, their eyes in on all of the intimate details of what's happening in our operations, both domestically and abroad. And they act like, oh, we need that, these people don't get paid very much, and they make a bunch of money, they get hired in the private sector, and they capitalize on that. A lot of them, as you saw with the 51 intelligence officials that were signing that letter about how the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, the reason the media takes them as credible sources, even though they're not, is because they have their security clearances still. So they're like, yo, I have insider information here, and such lies. If you leave a defense contractor, if you are a Raytheon executive or a Lockheed executive, and you leave Lockheed or Raytheon, your clearance to look in on the secret details of what they're doing gets revoked. It's a very standard practice. Any logical organization or country would do that. We need to start doing that with our military intelligence official. When you're gone, your security clearance is also gone. And that way you can't use your proximity to that insider information there. Like the idea that you might know something that other people don't, you can't use that to go spread lies in the news. And that's got to happen too. Because that thing with Hunter Biden, that legitimately, there's some poll that if people knew that that was legit and that wasn't just Russian disinformation, that Joe Biden would have gotten 17% less votes. Like 17% of the people that voted for him would not have done that. And that would have swung the election. So this is naked interference in our politics here in a way that it should be illegal. We got way too many fingers in the cookie jar here, and we could chop those fingers off by revoking the security clearances.
Unlock the future, keys in your head. Quantum bodies taking a step.